I'd like to introduce two absolutely amazing players. To the bottom right hand side, it's our blue Zerg from Team Liquid. Yes, that's right, it's Team Liquid Snute. And to the top left hand side, our pink Protoss player, it is Zest. And what a group this is. Zest, Snute, Innovation and Nurture. I mean, what more could you really ask for in a group? You're going to get to see Snute and Nurture playing some ZvT, some ZvP, ZvZ against one another, which is always a great matchup in Europe. If there's ever a ZvZ to look forward to, I think it's got to be Snute and Nurture. Then you get to just watch the Innovation play. That's kind of cool. He's only the GSL champion, currently being discussed as one of the best players of all time, considering the fact that he just won his third GSL. He won GSL versus the world earlier this year. He's won SSL this year, VSL this year. IEM Gyongiri, you know, it just doesn't stop. The guy is insanely good, and he is one of the best in the world. And so he's playing here today. And of course, Zest, it's always a pleasure to watch one of the most handsome men in StarCraft 2, in esports in general, I would say. Zest always a fan favorite, and rightly so. Even if you guys think he's slumping, well, he can really bring some great games at times. Very, very much Blackshot coming in for the 9-month resub. Says, hi, Wardian fan. What's up, Blackshot? How you doing, mate? How's it going? How's it hanging? Thank you so much for the 9 months, Twitch baby, for us, eh? Very, very much do appreciate it. Let's see some love in the chat for our first resub coming through here today as we set up into game number 1 of Zest versus Snute. Do let us know who you're cheering on in this series. Do let us know who you're cheering on throughout the groups today as well. Would love to hear your thoughts and your opinions. So let me know what's up. Let me know what's happening as we do set into, again, this first game of the day. Now, Abiogenesis, one of the maps from the Rush category. Interesting to see how this plays out. Yesterday we started with a very macro set of maps, and today we're starting with a few more weirder maps. We're going to have a macro map as our second map, Defender's Resort, I think. Let me just double check that. Yeah, Defender's Resort is map 3, actually. Anomaly will be map 2, which is one of the new maps. So that's kind of interesting. Snute can actually expand upwards. Now, this isn't something we've seen anyone really do on Abiogenesis just so far. We've mostly seen them looking towards this base here, but can I expand up here instead? Obviously, the fourth base, you don't really continue up this way. But you take this base here, which is a bit more centralized, a bit more forward, and then start move down the bottom side. There's only 6 bases per each side of the map here, so it is one of those games where you're not expecting it to go super late game. Obviously 6 bases can support late game, but only for a certain amount of time. You know, eventually you will start to mine out on this map, so we'll see how it goes as we see early on. Nothing really too crazy. Both players are playing fairly standard. The two Adepts, which I'm just poking and prodding, don't really find too much damage past a couple of Zerglings, and it's a Stargate follow-up with an Oracle already on the way out and in the production tab. Root for Snute says PJ improvement. Got there in the end. Ghost Snute says Andromeda in the 31 in the chat, and Blackshore too. Agent Sun coming in for the Go Zest, so we do have some support on either side here, and I think that's going to be true throughout the day, because man, do we have one hell of a lineup of players. God, I'm so excited for this group. This is my favorite group. It's my favorite group. I've been looking forward to it all day, all week long, which is super exciting. All right, let's see this Oracle flying on in. Going to be starting to nibble away. Just gets a single drone here before backing off. Would rather keep its health high so it can come in a little bit later on, perhaps with a second Oracle. Or just perhaps to kind of come in on its own. We'll see what he wants to do. Robo already dropping down though from Zest, so he's not looking to kind of play multiple Stargates or anything. Straight into Robo and looking as though he's going to take his third Nexus. Actually down here as well. Maybe we actually haven't seen a kind of a third base just yet, but I really thought that when we did, we'd see it over in this location rather than over here, which is much more open. You know, it's got a much larger space around it than... And okay, there's two kind of narrow pathways into it, but this base over here only really has one pathway into it, and you can sort of sit here and position yourself between the natural and third, go up and down the ramp as necessary. It's interesting that both. I can understand the Zerg taking a slightly more open and exposed base, but the Protoss player, I'm intrigued to see how that plays out for him in the next few moments, so keep our eyes on that as this Phoenix just picking up Overlord kills, 2 so far. And again, Forge and Twilight coming down as well. Just a single Oracle, which is probably why he was so careful with it. He doesn't want to lose too much health if it is going to be the only Oracle he builds. He would much rather make sure he keeps it alive and keeps it safe. As Snute, he checks up to the top side as well, first of all. He's like, oh, well, you know, that's why I expected you to take the third. Not going to be where it is, though. No pylon over here, by the way. And that's just Zest playing a little bit just kind of making a mistake, honestly, because there's no reason for him not to have a pylon, right? Because the Nexus is almost fully built. The pylon could easily be finished. It just never got built in the first place. So you can't use an overcharge to defend, loses a couple of Adepts, can't kind of, you know, it's not just about the overcharge, though. You say you have a pylon right here, or anywhere, You put the Adepts between the pylon and the Nexus, that amount of Zerglings has nowhere near as much effectiveness, and, you know, okay, maybe you don't actually straight up just hold it off, maybe you do still lose the Adepts, but it's a much worse trade for Snute, a trade which you might not even commit to at that sort of point. Some Shingdings coming in with the 9-month resub as well. That's slightly awkward, isn't it? 2 Twitch babies on the same day. I don't know how to explain that one. Thank you so much for the 9-month resub, though. And thank you for the continued support. Some more love in the chat, please, as we do see Zest going to go aggressively forwards here with a couple of Archons. Lings are going to come in as well to help push this back as Zealots drop back down. These Banes, I love them. They're moving around and trying to make sure they find the correct position to fight in. Zest loses one of the Archons, will lose a Zealot here too. More Zealots warping in, though. And Zest just getting very aggressive with this, with the extra gates that already did kind of finish up in his main base. He went up to 8 gates already. So it's going to be a lot of Zealots continue to come in here over the next few minutes, as now the Ling is getting us around once again. Archon lifting back up. Snute just has plenty of units to deal with this, though, and he is starting to push this back without really much of an issue at all. He's really just looking at this and saying, okay, yeah, this is cool for me, this is going fine. And as we see him opening just another couple of Archons and a few more Zealots, well, Snute will just continue to make units. He's on 61 workers, he's comfortable, he's got +1. It's getting better for him because Banesby's going to be finishing soon. And actually launching an attack towards the third base is going to at least force some overcharges. And he immediately goes on that pile, and then he turns around, maybe not expecting Zest to be continuing to attack right now. And that might cost Snute maybe just for a couple of moments here. That said, I mean, he's still got units on the way, so it's not like he has stopped making units or anything. It's just the fact that he doesn't quite have all the units in the right position at the moment. 6 drones going down, Zerglings starting to come in as well. Those Archons, though, was kind of a little bit clumped up and making it very difficult for the Lings to get a proper surround to properly fight this. Obviously, the Prism's still here, allowing some micro capabilities. The more Hydras that pop out, the more awkward a position this actually becomes a little bit for Zest, because if Snute can target down that Prism, well, that'd be real bad for Zest right here. As Snute, this was a much worse hold than what he's had so far, as there is the second Archon getting lifted. And Zest, oh, the Warpism goes down with 2 Archons left inside. And actually, Zest just GG's at that point. And I guess I can understand why. While he might have done the event is designed to let us look at the maps and see how they play out, etc. And so the entire whole, the whole point is that we're trying to show you guys different maps. And if we're trying to show you guys different maps, then, it's nice to actually be able to show the different maps. So we might see Archer of Giants today, but it won't be until later on, in case you were wondering. And as we jump into game number 2 of this best of 3. So the lower left hand side, the pink Protoss player. Give it up, guys, if you're cheering on Zest. He's going up against the blue Zerg from Team Liquid, who is up a game now. In the upper right hand side, it is going to be Team Liquid Snute. Great game number 1 from him. He had the defense ready. Those Zealot Archon attacks are becoming just a little bit too predictable, a little bit too common, I think, to really catch a lot of these top Zerg players off guard any longer. They keep just getting figured out before they even get rolling. Snute has the units. He's using a little bit of trouble for a moment when those Archons kind of move forwards, but Snute was actually in this position where it was like, well, it didn't matter too much because he still had enough units coming out, and he was only out of position because he was going to counterattack. He pulled back pretty quick, and then he did deal with it. And that was the only time Snute really looked troubled. Killing the Warp Prism is huge. The Warp Prism going down is like 2 Archons. Yeah, probably have to build a new Warp Prism, because now you have no presence to keep the Zerg on his side of the map. And if you can't keep Snute on his side of the map, Snute's going to be coming your way, and Snute's probably looking to be doing some damage in the fairly near future, That's how Snute works. As you do see, just a probe here patrolling on this top side. Going to be throwing down a proxy in just the next few moments. So proxy coming down in a moment or two, and it's going to be the Stargate. Kind of expected for PvZ, honestly. Kind of expected, wouldn't really say it's too much of a surprise. And see this Overlord of Snute just coming in over towards the left-hand side, as we do see this probe from Zest as well, coming around the top and having a little bit of a look to see what's happening. Stargate on the way up then, and obviously it'll look to fly in here and do some very early damage to give Zest a bit of a lead. We'll see if it's going to be successful or not in the next few moments, so eyes on the mineral lines. Can Snute defend? Can Snute figure out what's going on? This Overlord gets across the map already. We'll just be sat overhead here, near this pylon gate and Cybercore. Which is nice. Sat here with an eye on anything leaving the map. Obviously the issue is that, what's leaving the map is already on the map. As we do see. And then Deb just going to shade around. Just going to be seeing the drone. Going to be coming in to try and make a support, but got blocked by his drone buddy. And that's going to be just 1 drone kill for the Adept here before being pushed away. And again, Snute so far unaware of the Stargate to the top side. Oracle about to pop, and well, he's got a queen in each mineral line, but that's about it right now for Snute in terms of any. He's actually skipping his third queen to build pneumatized carapace, and by skipping that third queen, he puts himself in a bit of a tougher spot where he's just not going to have as much anti-air as he maybe could at this stage. Nice pull away of drones, though, is going to minimize the damage at the very least. 3 workers killed, and no, Oracle already like low on health, so only 4 workers killed with the first Oracle here, and it's low on health, and it doesn't have energy to protect this pylon, so Zest immediately just cancels his second Oracle. And this proxied Stargate is not going to do too much more here in the game. Twilight Council. And a robotics facility coming on down. The 2 structures which will obviously help Zest moving into the next stage of this. No forge just yet, which is something he did get in the last game at this sort of stage, so maybe we see something more aggressive here out of Zest. Maybe we just see a follow-up straight into a Dark Shrine and Archon drops. Or into Temple Archives and Archon drops. Maybe we see... I don't know, it's just the lack of the Forge and the lack of +1 is interesting. Well, this is very interesting. Zest expands forwards. Wow. Now, that's something we've not really seen on this map just yet. We saw in Su versus Gumiho on day number 1. We saw Su taking his 4th base here rather than down here. But we are yet to see Zest, someone expand forwards like this towards their, as they use this as their 3rd base. Wow. I wonder how this goes then. Like, I wonder if this is sort of one of those things where he's just planning on being extremely aggressive with so many gates, with glaives, that he just wants to have that forward base because he feels as though he's going to protect it with his aggression, or, I just don't really see it just yet, but I guess obviously Zest sees something in this idea, which we may find out sooner or later. +1 melee on the way up right now from Snute. Rotron and Bane Nest going to be finishing in the next few moments as well, so they're going to be finishing up shortly. Queen just throwing another inject onto the lair, and again a few more drones coming down in towards the 3rd base, and this drone right here going to move down towards a hatchery on the far south side. So Snute can expand to the 4th, which is kind of fairly safe. 5th base over here could be this base is kind of weird for Zerg though, because it is an island base. Yeah, it is an island base, but yeah, it's just kind of tough to hold, right? If too many units go over there, how do you get your own units over there in time to help defend as Snute? That's kind of the issue, right, against War Prisms. Maybe later in the game it's something you can look to take, as we do just see Zest. Well, moving forward with this Adept attack. Now there's Roaches on the way out. I mean, Snute again looks as though he's just sort of figuring out what's maybe coming his way already, and is once again just sort of setting up in a way to let himself be able to deal with this. Again, Pylon coming down, overcharging from the get-go. And again, the Temple Archives from Zest coming down in the main base too, so... Temple Archives here, Zest going to come around the top side. He is just going to throw down a Forge now as well. So setting up in towards the Forge is just going to deal with the first couple of Adepts pretty nicely. There's some Adepts here. Zest just looking to be all over the place, but Snoot's pretty on top of it. He sees the Warp Prism into the main. He's dealt with these Adepts down here. These Adepts haven't actually moved forwards yet. And we're going to be seeing the Warp Prism. Not really going to find the damage which maybe Zest was looking for. He'll just leave via the natural. And obviously takes a little bit of damage on his way out, but mostly just shield damage. In fact, entirely shield damage, and so he can just regenerate that without too much of an issue. Snoop throws down the Hydra Den, and obviously from this Roach-based defense against the Adepts, he's now going to start making this into a Lingbane Hydra game. A few Roaches will be mixed in still, but Lingbane Hydra will be his kind of ultimate kind of composition. He won't be looking to replace any of the Roaches which he loses out on in the foreseeable future. Charge on the way up as well, obviously allowing Zest to go in towards that kind of upgrade and allow himself a bit of a stronger mid-game. So charge coming on through. And again, these couple of Archons going to be finishing in a few moments as well. So a couple of Archons do finish up, the Archon finishing, and some more Zerglings continue to come out too. +2 melee on the Evo Chamber. And we see Snute. We'll see how aggressive he wants to be. He's already on 74 workers, so when we see how aggressive, I guess the real question is, does he attack with this? He'll probably attack, but how committed is the attack going to be? Is he really going to push forwards? Is he really going to keep pushing? Or is he going to start looking towards a hive and looking towards teching into the later game from the get-go here as well? We already see the Infestation Pit being dropped down. So Infestation Pit coming down here, getting set up and ready to go. And Snute just with a Macro Hatch coming into the main base as well. And still this Warp Prism moving around here, seeing what else it can go to. When is Innovation versus Nurture? Question in the chat. Yes, Innovation versus Nurture is going to be after this game. Our match order today is Zest versus Snute, Innovation versus Nurture, Innovation versus Snute, Nurture versus Zest, and then Zest versus Innovation, and Nurture versus Snute to finish the day. That will be our 18 maps to be played, 3 maps from each of those matchups. Zealots, Archons, and Mortals. Kind of starting to move forwards here. Going to be seeing the Archons coming in. That Queen going to get picked off. And again, Roaches, Hydras, and Banes. There's some Lings as well going to be coming around and seeing where they can go. So let's see what's going to happen. A few more Banes morphing in at the moment. Another Revelation comes down towards the top side. A Creep Tumor getting picked off right there. And again, the Hive coming up with a Spire. So we are seeing Snute with the intention of heading in towards Broodlords. And again, you know, I really thought he might have just attacked with the army which he was building up. And maybe that's the stage we're getting in towards now. Maybe I just expected it to come in a bit sooner. As we actually see, you know, Zest kind of taking the long way around. Actually, but, you know, it's very interesting, this pathway coming down. This is something we've not really seen a lot of in this game. We've not really seen kind of mid-map armies as, I think Zest might be in trouble, but he does have a getaway path to the left-hand side because he's going to get surrounded, but I think he realizes it's just way too late. Some Zealots are going to come forwards from the left now. War Prism going down. Oh dear, Zest. Everything's just getting caught kind of in the middle of nowhere, and he just wasn't quite aware of the idea of being kind of flanked from the south, because if he had been, he did have a getaway path. He could have moved across these bridges and backed away just like that. Not gonna is yet to have like a bad game on it, you know. It's yet to have a game which is like, oh, I proxy stargated you and you lost all your workers, and okay, it went to 5 minutes long. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, yeah. All right, guys, let's get in towards game number 3 of this best of 3. All maps played. Again, even though Snute is up 2-0, we still play the third map no matter here. It's just the way we approach this, basically. It's a map test contest, map contest tournament. We want to show you guys the maps. We want to get as many maps played as possible, and so we're going to get 18 maps out of every single group. Gives us 18 maps before we even go into the playoffs, which is actually pretty insane. It's a pretty sick, in my opinion, it's a good way to get to see lots of maps. I did some math on the previous map test tournaments, and usually there's about 110 maps seen throughout the entire event. So with this method, we get about 80 maps before, we get 72 maps before playoffs. Then we get a minimum of 12 maps in round of 8, which is 84. A minimum of 4 maps in round of 4, which is 92, plus 3 maps in the third place match, 95, plus 15 maps finals, 110. So we get at minimum the number of maps that the other map test tournaments have had, but of course if the series go longer, we can get a few more as well. So that was the kind of idea about putting the format like this, so that we could just make sure we got to see each map enough times throughout the course of the event. Bottom left hand side, the blue Zerg player from Team Liquid, and Snute. And he's up against the pink Protoss player to the upper right hand side of things. It's going to be Zest. Sorry, taking a little while to talk there. Introducing kind of late, but if there was anything super crazy going on, we would have switched to it. It is just the very standard build orders here once again. Pretty much sticking to the last games too. Stargate on the way up from Zest, and a Nubites Carapace opener coming in from Snute as well. So setting up in towards this to see how this is going to go. As you just see this Queen poking away at that Adept. Just trying to get a little bit of damage dealt. Again, just going to be seeing the Zergling moving around the top side. Looking to see what's going to happen. And yes, game 3 of best of 3, just to reiterate in case you just tuned back in. Again, it's going to be 3 maps played no matter what in each of these games. That's why I was sort of talking about number of maps played throughout the entire tournament. We're looking to kind of get 3 maps per every single series. Obviously, when we hit the playoffs, it becomes a bit more normal. It's just a normal best of 5 in round of 8. It's a normal best of 7 in round of 4. And the grand finals is best of 15, all maps played, but you win $50 per map, as well as your prize of getting first and second. So it's, again, just a bit of a different format to what we're usually used to, because we're trying to achieve something a bit different. We're not necessarily looking to set up the most kind of logical tournament in a way, I guess, when we're also looking to set up the most kind of logical way to let us see all of the maps. So, yeah. And when I was saying like 4 maps in the round of 4, because the round of 4 is best of 7, I mean minimum 4 maps in the round of 4. You know, so we're going to see at least 4 maps per series in the round of 4, if not more, is what I was trying to get across. Sorry, I'm just kind of speaking kind of fast, so apologies if that wasn't clear. Yeah, round of 8 is best of 5, round of 4 is best of 7, grand finals best of 15. course, we have 2 players so far in the round of 8, which is sort of weird to say because we're actually 3 group stage. This is our 3rd group stage game. This is our 3rd group of the group stage. But Group A is still in tiebreakers, and we do have a date and time set for the tiebreakers. 6:30 p.m. KST, which is 11:30 a.m. CEST on Wednesday. That's playoff day, so it's actually going to be played basically an hour and a half before the quarterfinals get played. Those tiebreakers between Hiro, Su, and Gumiho after they all tied up. Oracle coming overhead, and obviously just a 3rd Nexus getting set up by Zest. This base being taken again, so we really talked a lot about how maybe players wouldn't like to take this base, but I guess in certain matchups it is very takeable. And then when I say we talked about it in kind of the judging phase of this event to find out which 16 maps would make it as the finalists. But yeah, kind of, I said, like, would you ever take this map? And I guess, well, would you ever take this base? And I guess you can here against Snute, because obviously there's nothing to really stop you. And PVZ, I guess, my problem with this base was I was thinking of it maybe more as a 4th, but you take it as a 3rd, you mine it out before Broodlords become an issue. Perfect. If Broodlords get into the game, though, this 3rd base is going to be the one of the first bases sieged up and gotten rid of, so you have to be a bit careful later. The build here from Zest just transitioned into an Archon drop follow-up. We do see again a bunch of extra gates coming down, going up to 8 gates in total once more here. He's got that +1, he's got charge on the way. First few Lings taking some hits now, and 22 more on the production tab already for Snute. He's got some roaches to help push this back, and the Hydra Den on the way up as well. So again, Snute generally having what he needs right here initially. A little bit of a loss there on the Queen. Was actually blocked in by the roaches, couldn't pull it back because of those roaches blocking. A little bit of, a slight shame, but nothing too worrisome. I'm just going to see those Archons dropping down once again. Just going to be seeing this Overlord getting picked off, and that'll be that. So counter-attacking, going to find a pylon, forces an overcharge, and a depth here, the possibility of a second pylon overcharge if required. Don't think it's really worthwhile for Snute, but he'll keep those Zerglings there as a threat. As at the same time, Zest, though, is maybe looking around for a way to attack on further in. This Oracle is set up to push forwards. You see the Zealots warping in as well, and of course that's the opportunity I think Snute's really been looking for. There's another overcharge. And, well, there's still a Roaches here to help deal with this push, but the Zerglings too might be a necessity. We're now going to see Banes from Snute as well, so he's actually going to set up very aggressively himself. This could work very well for him, obviously, if, Zest has so much army over here, but at the same time, he might fall into trouble if he has too much army on the other side of the map. Overcharge is no longer available as these Banes are going to roll in towards the mineral line, and this could be disastrous for Zest. Ooh, he only loses a couple of probes already. Archons and Zealots warping into the main base at the same time. Banes are going to keep on chasing the probes, and they are going to get pretty much every probe. But at the same time, Snute, well, he's going to lose the 4th hatchery, which he's built here. That's already on the way down. And Archons and Zealots are currently working their way through Roaches and the Queen here in the main base. So Snute's a little bit all over the place. The hatchery does fall. And again, those Zealots surrounding Broodling's getting picked off. Zergling's coming back to do a bit more. And a couple of Archons and more Zealots coming on in here to try and keep on trading. Another couple of Roaches going down. And again, these Archons still trading out with a Spore Crawler there. It goes down as well as these Zealots charge on forwards. And Zest really looking as though he's in control, very much so, of game number 3. And that's Snute. Just kind of running out of, again, was so focused on kind of counter-attacking and just didn't, because of that, he didn't have the Banes at home. He didn't have the initial wave of what he needed at home. And without kind of having what you need to defend, this snowballs very quickly from the Protoss player's perspective. And obviously, Zest at that point then gets into a very good position. I mean, Snute cleans out 1 mineral line, whereas, Zest cleans out a 4th base and a 3rd mineral line and a main mineral line. He just had too many units, and, I guess it's where, I guess at this stage of the game, the Zealots are just too good in these sort of numbers to be dealt with by low numbers of Zerg units, and that's kind of the difference, because Snute had some units committed up here. He just didn't have the en masse amount, which he needs to just straight up fight this. And as we're going to be seeing, well, this game really going to be ending in just a few moments. Again, interesting to see kind of the different ways of expanding. We've seen Protoss players expanding down here in all sorts over the course of the days. So interesting to see the expansions again being taken differently. We're still really yet to see a game on this map which hits late game, and we sort of see like, top side bases being taken. We get to see kind of armies moving around the center. A lot of the games we're seeing on Defender's Resort is really about these kind of timing attacks with Zealots and Archons. And again, you don't really get to see a lot of army movement and army kind of positioning between the players, because it's just one attack that's already brought immediately over to the Zerg's base, right? So it becomes a bit weird in that sort of scenario, I guess. We're going to see Zealots, Mortals, and Archons going to pop up this ramp, and, well, Snute going to probably realize in a moment or so that this is going to be A little bit of a tough one to hold on to. GG's. And Zest takes game number 3. He does